Rachel Zegler just keeps making things worse with the Walt Disney Company. The more that she tries to defend this movie, the more that she tries to spew her agenda onto the general public, it's only making matters worse. Not just for Bob Iger, but for whatever is left of the image of Disney as a whole.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it, you didn't direct it, you have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the job.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler. Evie Magazine wrote on X, when you compare how Rachel Zegler spoke about Snow White to how other actresses who played live-action Disney princesses spoke about their character, really underlines just how poorly she carried herself.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Weird.
Inexplicably continued to post herself in an empty theater for her own movie. She's literally the only person there. And do you not understand how humiliating this is?
Oh, man.
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
In what has become one of the most controversial Hollywood meltdowns in recent memory, Disney's live-action Snow White remake has not only flopped critically and commercially, it has now ignited a legal firestorm that's thrust its lead actress, Rachel Zegler, into the eye of the storm. According to multiple insiders, Zegler was urgently summoned to an emergency face-to-face meeting with Disney's legal team. The purpose? To address alleged contract violations, reputational damage to the brand, and the looming possibility of legal action against the star. The studio is reportedly furious over Zegler's conduct throughout the film's promotional campaign, with tensions between her and Disney escalating behind closed doors for months. This stunning legal development marks a dramatic turning point in what has already been a disaster-plagued production. From the beginning, Disney's Snow White remake seemed like a high-stakes gamble, a $240 to $270 million production aiming to reimagine a foundational piece of the company's legacy. The 1937 original wasn't just a movie, it was the first full-length animated feature in cinema history and the very cornerstone upon which the Disney empire was built. Naturally, expectations were sky-high. But as early promotional materials dropped and comments from the cast began surfacing, the public quickly turned on what was supposed to be a celebratory reboot.
Where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world. But the first thing we need to do is entertain.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
No longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
Prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Much of the backlash zeroed in on Zegler herself, who in interviews repeatedly referred to the original Snow White as dated, weird, and even called Prince Charming a stalker. Though perhaps well-intentioned attempts at framing the remake through a modern feminist lens, these remarks were interpreted by many fans as disrespectful, not only to the original film but also to its cultural and cinematic legacy. Her words were clipped, turned into viral tweets and TikToks, and painted Zegler as the poster child for what critics were calling woke revisionism at the expense of beloved source material. Adding gasoline to the fire was a now infamous promotional tweet by Zegler that mixed film marketing with an overt political message.
I am in the thick of rehearsals for Romeo plus Juliet, so I'm going to get out of here. Bye for now. The Variety story notes how a couple of minutes after posting this, she replied to her own tweet and wrote, "And always remember, free Palestine."
That post reportedly sent shockwaves through Disney's upper ranks, as internal sources claimed the studio was blindsided and alarmed that their star would publicly blur the lines between brand promotion and political commentary. The response was immediate. Mark Platt, a top-tier Hollywood producer and father of Broadway actor Jonah Platt, flew directly to New York to confront Zegler in person. The tension was palpable, with executives scrambling to limit further damage. From that moment on, the narrative around the film spiraled out of control. Online discourse turned brutal. Comment sections filled with outrage. Zegler's past quotes were dredged up and scrutinized, with critics accusing her of arrogance and even narcissism. Meanwhile, co-star Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen, wasn't exempt from controversy herself. She made headlines for expressing her unwavering support for Israel during a time of geopolitical conflict, further inflaming the already polarized reaction to the film. While Gadot has not been publicly summoned to a legal meeting, at least not yet, speculation is rampant that Disney may also be quietly reviewing her conduct as well.
Never did I imagine that on the streets of the United States and different cities around the world, we would see people not condemning Hamas, but celebrating, justifying, and cheering on a massacre of Jews.
But Zegler remains the central figure in this unfolding controversy. The recent legal meeting signals that Disney may be exploring aggressive action to either distance itself from the star or recover some portion of the staggering losses incurred by the film. So far, Snow White has earned just $43 million domestically and $84 million globally, a catastrophic return on a $250 million investment. Internally, Disney appears to be in crisis mode.
So, it got destroyed at the box office. Here's the box office numbers. The Minecraft movie made $60 million on Saturday. Snow White made $2 million.
And of course, this weekend, Minecraft came out, which has absolutely dominated the box office, done significantly better than analysts even projected. And now we're finding out that Snow White has officially crossed $160 million.
Reports suggest that some executives believe Zegler's public remarks violated clauses in her contract about brand protection, which often require actors to speak positively about the property and avoid disparaging legacy content. If Disney can prove she violated these terms, it could open the door to legal remedies or financial penalties. However, Zegler's camp has begun pushing back. Leaked correspondence suggests that many of her comments, especially about updating the character to be more empowered and independent, were not only permitted but actively encouraged by Disney's own marketing team. These documents reportedly show that talking points were supplied to the cast to emphasize how different and progressive this version of Snow White would be compared to the 1937 original. If that's true, Disney's current hardline stance appears deeply hypocritical and possibly even retaliatory. This raises a profound question. Is Disney scapegoating its lead actress for a project that failed due to a long list of creative missteps? It's important to understand that the film had problems far beyond the press tour.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed. I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic...
Key story elements were drastically altered. The classic romantic arc was either removed or heavily downplayed. The Seven Dwarfs, once central to the story, were reimagined in a way that left longtime fans confused and alienated. Early test screenings reportedly showed that audiences were turned off by the film's tone, which critics said sacrificed whimsy and charm in favor of heavy-handed social messaging. Many saw it as joyless and self-serious, missing the fairy tale magic that made the original an icon. As for the production itself, multiple sources suggest that internal sabotage or executive backstabbing may have contributed to the chaos. Rachel Zegler herself has hinted at this, claiming that Disney executives gave conflicting directions and were divided on the tone and message of the film. Some leaders wanted to push a bold, modern reimagining. Others warned it would alienate core audiences. In the end, no one won. The final product was a Frankenstein's monster, part modern fable, part nostalgic reboot, and not fully satisfying either camp. Meanwhile, Jonah Platt, son of the film's producer, publicly blamed Zegler for the failure. That comment, coming from someone so close to the top, signaled that even within the team, blame was being tossed like a hot potato. For her part, Zegler arrived at the emergency legal meeting with her own counsel in tow, a clear sign that she anticipated confrontation. Insiders say the tone of the session was tense and defensive, with both sides unwilling to concede ground. Bob Iger, Disney CEO. recently stated that the company's mission is to entertain, not send messages, which many interpreted as a not-so-subtle rebuke of the Snow White project. That's an ironic pivot considering leaked emails show that Disney's own leadership once championed the very messaging now being disowned. These mixed signals, from the top down, reveal an organization in disarray. Marketing strategies were altered mid-campaign. Zegler's interviews were selectively edited or omitted from later promos. And now, the company appears to be scrambling to salvage its reputation by distancing itself from the fallout. What makes this story resonate so deeply is that it's not just about one movie, one actress, or even one PR disaster. It's about the precarious balance in modern Hollywood between artistic reinvention and brand preservation. It's about how quickly public sentiment can shift, how online backlash can reshape corporate strategy overnight, and how creative risks can become legal liabilities when the stakes are this high. Actors today are more vocal, more politically engaged, and more personally branded than ever before. That's a double-edged sword. While social media has given stars unprecedented reach and influence, it has also made them more vulnerable to backlash, and, in cases like this, more susceptible to being held accountable in very public, very expensive ways. Zegler's situation is a cautionary tale, not just for Disney but for the entire industry. As this saga continues to unfold, all eyes are on what Disney does next. Will they attempt to quietly settle things behind closed doors? Will Zegler speak out further? And perhaps most importantly, will this debacle mark the end of Disney's golden era of live-action remakes? Many fans think it already has. Across forums and comment sections, viewers are calling for a return to the magic, not the messaging, a plea for heart over headlines, for storytelling over statements. In the end, the Snow White remake was supposed to celebrate one of the most treasured tales in cinematic history. Instead, it's become a cautionary fable of its own, one that speaks volumes about the fragility of legacy, the volatility of fame, and the ever-thinning line between entertainment and controversy.